Hello and welcome to another episode of Star Charts with your host, Mr. Everything from the 1st Royal Aerospace Squadron. In this episode, we are going to be focusing on the Hades system. This is the time when I would normally pull up a map of the UEE and show you exactly where the Hades system is in relationship to the other systems and with its jump points. As you might know, the map is undergoing some changes, so I will not be able to show you until that map is revealed. So let's go ahead and zoom in on the system. I had put my ship on automatic, bearing for Hades 3, and then climbed down to the middeck. As I stepped toward the hold, I caught sight of something in the darkness. I couldn't say it was even human, but humanoid at least. I had an immediate impression of a body with exposed musculature, covered in blue-hued veins. It turned to look right at me when my ship suddenly rocked. It was gone. It was a nanosecond of an encounter, but I was left with a terrible sense of presence. It was as though I'd seen something my mind couldn't understand. The feeling never passed. I sold the ship. When I got home, it didn't feel like mine anymore. Eli Thorne Nav Jumper. Hades is a lawless system that is technically classified as abandoned by UEE Stellar Cartography. A blue-white B9 4-star, Hades produces too little heat for a viable green band. While several planets survive in orbit, none has the heat to support life. In broad stellar terms, and in seeming contradiction to the age of other stars in the stellar neighborhood, Hades seems to be nearing the end of its life cycle. Hades was first identified in 2515 by the Mary Crow, a tramp freighter. The discovery was not formally cataloged because the ship was carrying several hundred freight units of stolen fusion drives. 19 years later, Jake Taps, the Crow's navigator and sole surviving crew member, found himself penniless and planet-bound. He sold the ship's extensive logbooks to finance a slam habit, and the Hades system was subsequently charted and officially registered by the Dynamo Corporation. Interest in the system skyrocketed once Dynamo's exploration ships conducted their initial survey. While the system was deemed still totally inappropriate for terraforming, they located significant evidence that all of the worlds were once home to an extinct spacefaring society. Decades of research have created an interesting picture of an advanced society that ultimately wiped itself out through internecine conflict. The majority of the surface of Hades' 3 inner planets is pockmarked with impact craters, while the final, former planet of the system was literally been split in half, though as of yet identified means. It was this grandiose level of destruction that gave the system its name. While there are no facilities for refueling or ship maintenance in the system, it is still part of an active space lane. However, very few alter their course to explore the inner system. Most of those who are willing to traverse on the planets are xenoarchaeologists and tomb raiders. Despite the widespread devastation, thousands of structures have been identified on Hades' graveyard worlds, and many more are believed to exist underground. Countless artifacts are taken or stolen from these sites each year, and it is believed that there are a number of ongoing formal outlaw operations running to try to locate some of the technology that the Hadesians used to destroy themselves. Hades 1, the first planet in the system, completely lacks any atmosphere. Scattered unnatural craters and ruins indicate that the Hadesians must have colonized Hades 1 in a limited capacity. Scientists have been unable to figure out whether it was always this way or whether the atmosphere was another victim of the war. Hades 2. Hades 2 retains something of an atmosphere, but it is a violent one. Environmental suits must be worn, and due to the amount of volcanic ash in what remains of the atmosphere, no one should ever be away from a breather. Sprawling Hadesian cities spider across the landscape, every single one of them dead and withering away in the unrelenting wind. The unstable nature of the ruins makes this surface a very precarious one to try and explore. Deposits of cerium, a mineral prized by the Xi'an for use in their armor plating, has been discovered on Hades 2. Although due to the archaeological value of the system, no corporate mining campaign has ever been authorized. Hades 3. On the surface, Hades 3 matches 1 and 2. It is a gruesome landscape of impact craters and shattered cities. The atmosphere is toxic, and only the best equipped Xenarch teams should make landfall. Despite this, countless ruins have been documented over the years, perpetuating the belief in certain circles that there is still much remaining to discover in Hades. Death and destruction is not limited to the surface of Hades 3. At a Lagrange point high above the planet, a more recent graveyard sits in orbit. Back in 2901, a Xi'an junker smuggling a cargo of Asoians bound for slaughter and rendering suffered engine troubles. As the crew struggled to restore power to the ship, the captive Asoians, normally docile creatures, escaped and proceeded to slaughter the crew of the rescue ship, and ultimately each other. Hades 4. Hades 4 is commonly considered a half-planet, leading to the somewhat confusing 3.5 worlds listing in the formal UEE listing. While the entire planet still exists and is not degenerated into a complete asteroid field, it does so in two distinct halves. It's impossible to wholly comprehend the absolute horror of a weapon capable of destroying an entire planet. But it is difficult not to marvel at the spectacle of the desolation. The Hadesians. There are as many theories about the Hadesians' nature as there are stars in the sky. Every year, a fresh batch of university graduates descends on the system, hoping that they will be the ones to finally crack the mystery of this civilization. And every year, they go away in frustration. This does not mean that the Hadesians are a complete mystery. Scientists have managed to roughly determine their physical dimensions, and their civil war was fought roughly 300,000 years ago. Based on skeletal and archaeological evidence, Hadesians were roundish creatures with a bulky central body, multiple thin appendages, a number that apparently varies from Hadesian to Hadesian, and a pair of long arms complete the figure. And that was Hades. You can check out our other episodes of Star Charts, and we'll see you in the verse.